You're a massive underdog in this fight, at least in a lot of lines. How do you feel about that?
I don't really care. I mean, the betting odds are just an opinion. You know what I mean? I'd like to maybe see the statistics on how often they're right anyways. You know, to me, it's just another number. It's just an opinion. And I'm going to bring the fight Saturday night, so I'm not too worried about the betting odds.
I think what everyone should understand is that I'm going to get the best K.J. that you guys have seen. You know, I think you guys saw a little bit of it from his fight with Billy. He's obviously been working on his wrestling, so he's working on his wrestling defense. He's also been working on his kickboxing, not just being a flat-footed boxer. So, to be honest, it means a lot to me, you know, to know that nobody else in Strikeforce has fought the K.J. I'm going to fight. And so, for me to get a win over him is going to be great. And so, I think with a good showing, I definitely think it should be a title shot next, but that's just obviously my opinion.
You know, he presents threats from everywhere. If you look at his record, like Scott said, he's a tough guy. He's beat a lot of big names, and I consider him an all-rounder. His stand-up is kind of crazy and a little bit unpredictable, but, you know, I'm taking this fight very seriously, and he's a dangerous guy.
Paul, this question's for you. Here. Fairly or unfairly, people remember you for what happened with the Josh Koscheck fight. The last 22 months, what have you done to kind of restore your image there to have a more positive image for an MMA fans everywhere?
You know, that was just a few seconds, really. That's not my whole character, and I think for the media to sum that, you know, a few seconds up as the real Paul Daley is wrong. People that have seen the documentaries I've done and interviews since then and the statements I've put out, you'd realise that that's not really my character. It's just a moment of madness.
About cage arrest? You know, I've been through this before. The second fight with Gilbert, I was out for 15 months. Came back and, you know, obviously you noticed I was in great shape for that fight. We had a 5-round battle and war. But what did slip away was the techniques. You know, so for this camp though, and for this year and this whole time I've been off, I was able to still hit mitts, still work on all the stuff I needed to work on. You know, I had a fractured foot and torn ligaments in my foot after pulling out of the Maximum fight. So I was out for a little bit then. I also had surgery on my wrist. So as soon as I broke my foot, I scheduled the surgery 2 days later. And so I just did both things at once. So I was out for that 8 weeks, you know, but other than that, I've been working a lot more on my techniques. And getting in shape has never been a real problem for me. So just, you know, I've trained pretty hard as far as that goes.
For those people who think that the only way you're going to win this fight is to get a hold of one of Miesha's arms, are there other avenues? Have you been working on other things? Are there other places that you can win this fight on Saturday?
Well, of course there is, but why would I want you to know that? I mean, the less that everybody knows, the better for me. You know, I think that I'm very fortunate that they have very little footage to study of me, and they have really very little knowledge of, you know, everything that's in my arsenal. So I'm not telling them.
You didn't tell me the other day on my radio show either. I just thought I'd throw it out there.
You just wanted to reiterate?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I think that she probably would try to keep it standing because that's one part of my game that no one has seen, and they assume that it's not there. So that's what most of the girls that I've fought have tried to do so far, but it hasn't worked out very well for any of them either. So whatever she tries to do, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I think the sign of Nate is very interesting. You know, he's a huge name. He performed well in the middleweight division, was very highly ranked, and I think that from my point of view, I think a Woodley-Nate fight is going to be very interesting because I think Woodley's quite a boring fighter, and I think Nate will smash him, and then I'll get the chance to fight Nate, and I think that's just a bigger fight to promote than a rematch against me and Woodley, which is, you know, it wasn't very entertaining.
No, not really. I mean, I wasn't really looking to make a bunch of new friends. I was looking to be able to support myself and not have to cash coins in order to pay my rent. You know, if a bunch of girls I never knew before suddenly don't like me, it's not really my problem. And it really seems like the only girls that don't like me are either champions or former champions that have this sense of entitlement that everyone should throw pedals at their feet. So, yeah, they don't like me because I'm not going to sit around and bow my head and say pleases and thank yous, but, you know, I'd rather be blunt than have to work graveyards at 24-hour fitness.
Well, I mean, I always say there's no insurance in fighting, there's no guarantee, there's no for sure way to do anything, you know what I mean? But I do have a lot of experience. You know, I have fought people that I haven't really liked before, maybe not to this extent, but I'm smart enough to know, you know, not to get overzealous and things like that, and not to let the emotional get the best of me. So it's just a matter of, you know, staying smart and channeling that all into a positive energy so that when I come out and fight that, you know, it's productive rather than counterproductive. And I've always been good at doing that so far, so I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, you know, every fight matters, so I'm gonna just, you know, take this fight first, and then we'll see what happens. I'm gonna come out with a good performance, and like I said, I'm not worried about it being fight of the night, because I know it's gonna be the fight of the night. Every single one of my fights is fight of the night, so I'm prepared, I'm ready, and I'm really excited to be fighting somebody like Josh. You know, Josh did pretty well all around, but I mean, he's got great wrestling, you know, great ground game. He's actually got really good submissions, so that's, you know, something that we've been working on. And, you know, I expect him to do what everybody else tries to do, take me down, try to put rounds in the bag, and, you know, try to win the fight, you know. But I've kind of changed my approach on the fighting instead of just going in there and trying to, you know, brawl it out and see who the toughest guy is. You know, I want to win too, so I've definitely brought a couple things back in the fight game. You know, my kicks, my knees, my clinch, the ground. I mean, everything other than boxing. Because you guys go in there and want to beat somebody up. So I think that's going to play a factor of me just being a better all-around fighter in there. But yeah, most of it, he's good all around. You know, he's been champion before, but he's going to use, like everybody else, they're going to want to use their strengths in the game, which his is, you know, the submissions and the wrestling, and you know, with that comes, you know, laying on people and trying to edge rounds, and I've done that so people, you know, can't just put rounds in the bag. So it's going to be exciting. I'm prepared for everything.
I wasn't too sure, you know. I figured that I'd have to go away somewhere else and get some good wins in the bag, which I did. You know, they weren't great performances. I think there were 2 decision wins, but it just kept my name out there, you know. And I think that the people with the Showtime and Strikeforce would be foolish not to have such an entertaining fighter as myself on their roster, you know? Thank you.
Yeah, I had about a year of an amateur career. I was 5-1 as an amateur, and back then I was going to college full-time. I was working at McDonald's. I was 19, and I was also training. So that was, you know, pretty vigorous. But when I turned, shortly after turning professional, I was working at Costco, and you know, I was there for maybe a year, and things really started to kind of take off for me career-wise. Strikeforce was showing interest, and I fought Elena Maxwell at that time, and I think they realized that maybe I was worth investing in, and so I just kind of dove right in. I actually moved into a very small, like 22-foot, we call it a road ranger, you know, a little house on wheels, and I was parked right outside the gym. Me and Brian and his best friend all lived, 3 of us in there for almost 2 years. And we did that to cut costs so that I wouldn't have to work, so that I could dedicate all my time to training and fighting. And you know, this was my passion, my drive, and so I wanted to give it my all, and I was definitely willing to sacrifice the luxury of, you know, living expenses and having a nice place or room space just to have the time to be at the gym and be able to dedicate that. And I feel that was the right decision. It's definitely paid off. I'm sure. I mean, I think that the thing about Ronda is that, you know, she's a very, you know, kind of a self-righteous person. You know, she cares more about herself than she does about the sport of women's MMA. And, you know, I think that what she's done has all been about her and marketing herself. And she's talked her way into a title fight, in my opinion. You know, she's not the #1 contender at 135 because she's never even fought here. So, you know, at 4-0, what she's done is what she's done. You know, it's been moderately impressive, but she's never fought anyone of my caliber, and I think it's going to be a true test for her.
I think that begs a response from Ronda.
Yes, I think that this card is evidence of the suffering women's MMA has suffered because of my actions.
Is there any part of you that thinks, you know, you've spoken about Chael Sonnen in the past, and a lot of people compare you to Chael Sonnen, you know, in terms of, you know, your trash talking. You're very good at it, but is there any part of you that thinks that maybe this might turn back on itself and become kind of an act, and, you know, kind of become, you might be forced to do it, you might become a sort of a prisoner of your own success, so to speak?
No, I don't think so. I mean, no one's forcing me to talk a certain way, you know, I'm just kind of improvising and making this up as I go along, and I don't feel like I'm trapped in any sort of character. I just kind of talk in the way I feel like any given day.
I mean, it's obvious that I don't really care for her personality and the way that she's chosen to market. But I can say that, what she has done in the cage has been good. She's a year into her career. She's 4-0. I mean, that's all great and everything like that. And I think her accomplishments in the Olympics are also something, very impressive. But again, it just goes back to who is she beating, and I just don't think that she's on this level yet. You know what I mean? I think what she has done so far has been great.
Yeah. She's a champ for a reason, but I don't really have much respect for the inconsistency of her comments. One day she's like, oh yeah, I totally respect your Olympic medal, and another day she's like, oh yeah, it's not a legitimate medal. Or like one day she's like, oh, she'd only get the title shot because she's pretty, and then another day she's like, oh well, and she'd only get the title shot because she talked her way into it. And then before that she's like, oh well, it should just be about your record and just how you fight and nothing else. But then at the same time she's got a picture of herself in booty shorts on her page, and then several months later she changes her mind and says, oh no, it's the entertainment business. So I don't have much respect for the inconsistency of her attitude. It seems to kind of reflect that she has a little bit of a weak personality, but the way that she fights, yeah, she's well-rounded. She's cool.
I think that she needs to maybe do her research, because a lot of the things she just misquoted me. The media has a great way of twisting things, and a lot of what she just said was completely inaccurate. I've been consistent about my comments with her, so maybe she should go watch some of my interviews.
I do watch your interviews. You don't watch mine, remember? That's what you said on HD. Yeah. Or maybe you do. You want to change your mind on that too?
Well, I mean, it's a huge opportunity, and I think that it's important we make the most of it, because, like I said, we don't get this opportunity very often. Obviously, we haven't seen a women's fight headline a card in 3 years, and so it's so important. I feel like that we go out there and we put on a good fight. And I love all the pre-fight hype coming up to this, because I think that it's been good overall. Even though, my personal distaste for it, I still think that, it's been good for women's MMA, and we're going to put on an amazing fight, and I hope that it says big things and raises the bar and the expectation of what we are capable of as athletes.
I just want to point out that Miesha just contradicted herself again, because earlier she said that I'm only out for myself and I don't care about the benefit of women's MMA, but then she just said that this fight is great for women's MMA, which I agree with that, and I've been consistently saying that.
That doesn't mean that you care about women's MMA, but okay.
It doesn't, I don't care why people are watching my fights, I look at YouTube comments. Some people watch the fights because it's the only time they get to see women's bare feet. I don't care. I just care that there's ratings. I don't need to know personally why every person's watching. I don't need to sit down with every person watching and be like, oh, are you watching because they're cute? Or are you watching because they're good fighters? Or are you watching because you like the smack talk? Or are you watching because you like Miesha's really neon green shorts? Or I don't care why they're watching. I care that they are watching, and it's building a profile for all of us. And people watch the guys for different reasons too. Some people think George St. Pierre has a cute butt, that's why they watch, I don't care. I'm sure he doesn't care why they watch either, It's about the ratings, not about why.
I do care, personally. I think, what it is basically is that there's an interesting contrast when you think of, a woman and what you would think of feminine, and you wouldn't necessarily think of violence and fighting and all that kind of stuff. And so when you put it together in a package, it makes for an interesting selling point. And I think that the initial draw for a lot of people and why it's getting so much attention is because we both do carry ourselves as feminine and women outside the cage. Yet when we get in there, my goal is to have us be respected more as athletes and fighters than our looks. I think that comes first and foremost. But we're gaining viewers for whatever reason, and then it's our job to perform in the cage and show that it's not about just the looks. And I hope that from now on, once people see this fight, for whatever initial reason they were watching, that they would say, you know what, I was entertained, male or female, good looking or not good looking. These women are fantastic, and I would watch any women's fight in the future, whether they're gorgeous or not.
There has been some problems with making weight. You have said that you've rededicated yourself to cleaning up your diet, re-evaluating your diet, to make weight. Can you talk a little bit about what you've done, to improve your diet?
firstly I stopped eating fried chicken and watermelon, and started eating some salad and stuff. So yeah, I started eating some salad and some grilled chicken. Thank you.